Hello viewers, how are you? I hope you are fine. I'm Professor Muhammad Asif Iqbal with you, and you are watching my channel IELTS Advanced and English with M. Asif. Well, in today's video, I'm going to share with you my thoughts regarding IELTS Speaking Test Part 2. Before this video, I have already published my video regarding IELTS Speaking Test Part 1. This is Part 2, and during the course of presenting this video, I will share with you some top tips and strategies and a detailed analysis on Part 2. Well, I will also show you a sample video of somewhere it's between band 8 to band 9. Okay, IELTS bands, and you will have a chance to critically assess that video, and then I will also present my own analysis on the merits and demerits of that IELTS test. It's a real test and a very nice one. Okay, so let's proceed with the rest of the lesson. Well, now this is how you get the cue card in for Speaking Part 2 test. Like, I have already underlined the major points, like when you get your test, so you should keep in mind. Like, for the first thing is, this is how it looks like. Take 1 minute to prepare a talk on the following subject. Take notes if you like, and remember to include reasons and examples. Even during the test, the examiner also, like the paper setters also remind you to of the major points that you must have in mind during the talk. Okay, and then you should then speak for between 1 to 2 minutes. Okay, describe a beautiful for example, now your topic is here, describe a beautiful place to visit in your country. Okay, and based on that topic, they also help you. These are in fact helpful points for you to remember. Like, you should include, you can add to it anything yourself, but that should be to the point, that should touch the topic, that should not be digression from the topic. Okay, so you must remain on the track during your 1 to 2 minutes talk. Okay, for example, where it is, how to get there, what there is to do when you are there, and explain why you recommend this place. Now this is an example. We are not expanding upon the same here. Okay, well, the next point is focus on answering, not linking. Okay, linkers are important, but using such long linking words is not recommended. Why is it so? Let's see. I do not recommend, that's why I do not recommend using phrases like these, what you saw before. Okay, so while you won't lose marks for using them, if you don't use them, you will not lose marks. You won't gain marks also. If you go for using them, you will not gain marks. So don't waste your time on using such phrases. But here is the problem. Now let's come to the solution. The time you spend saying these linking phrases is time that you should be spending on the real content of your answer. Let's go back to what was, see, going to my next point, and with reference to the question, I would like to start with the first point. Well, do not for every other sentence, do not waste your time on such long phrases used as linkers. Okay, try to utilize, that's what I mean, try to utilize that time in describing that market, using descriptive language, using that type of language, descriptive phrases, those adjectives, those adverbs which could beautify your description. Okay, and you succeed in painting the picture of that market in front of the eyes of the examiner. This is what I meant here. All right, so the real content, see, these are the key words you should keep. I always highlight such things here. Okay, now for part 2, prepare ideas for 6 main topic areas. Okay, always before you go for this test. 1, describe an object. For example, they offer, like, these are commonly selected topics. Describe an object. It could be a gift, something you you use etc. Well, you will be lucky if they ask you describe an object, but often they don't do this. They give you an object. Describe, like for example, anything, a building, for example, Eiffel Tower, or something else. Okay. Describe a person, someone you admire, a family member, okay, a celebrity, anyone, okay. Describe an event, for example, a festival, celebration, etc. It could be that. Describe an activity, for example, a hobby. Okay, describe a place somewhere you visited, a holiday, etc. Okay. Describe your favorite book, film, advertisement, website. Well, these are most commonly selected topics. Now, most questions fit into one of these topics. For example, describe a river, lake, sea which you like is number 5. Okay, describe a place. If they ask you describe a place, and they don't ask you to, they don't specify the place. In number 5, you could describe a holiday by the sea, a city with a river. Okay, for you, you got it. Okay, so alright. So the bottom line here is do not take the test without preparing some ideas for these topics first. Advisable. Now, how to talk for 2 minutes? That's because some people, okay, I have ideas, but I don't know how to talk. Okay, develop confidence. Okay, practice a lot. Different things are there. Is it necessary to speak for the full 2 minutes? Now it's the question of duration. Well, you run short of time when you run short of ideas, or run short of vocabulary, or lose confidence during the talk. Okay, so try to keep in your grasp all these 3 things together. Okay, now speak for between 1 and 2 minutes. So that is suggested. Okay, that's ideal. It's not strictly necessary. However, try to keep speaking until the examiner stops you. Don't worry, the examiner will stop you at when you cross the limits. Okay, so try to keep in mind the time you left. Okay, now tips to help you keep talking. Okay, what are the tips? First, try to develop each bullet point in detail. You have some bullet points, okay? You have taken down some notes, okay? So you can have a look at the point, and then you can go ahead with that point, okay? That way you will be, and the necessary thing is your bullet points should be in logical order, okay? So that will give a natural touch and a logical, there will be a flow, but that will be a logical flow in your speech, okay? If you don't say enough for the first 2 or 3 points, you will have too much time for the last point. Okay, so divide your time according to the significance of each and every point you have. Okay, some point may need a little more detail, but the other one a little less. Okay, but reasonably divide it almost the same time. Okay, number 2, tell a story about, for example, tell a story about something real. You will find it easy to keep talking, not to keep talking. Keep in mind this highlighting. It's helpful to remember the key points here. Stories, because stories are interesting for the listener. I mean the examiner. All right. Sorry. Number 3. Add examples from your own experiences. Okay. So these are some tricks, because the question is how to keep talking. Okay, these are the things to remember. You can easily develop it into another short story. Okay, you add an example. I'll show you some nice examples here. Okay. Number 4. When describing an object, don't forget the simple things like size, color, shape, texture, material, position. Okay, this is because these things will be noticed by the examiner, because here fortunately or unfortunately it may vary from candidate to candidate. If you are already from the technical background, so you will not find it difficult, but if you are not from non-technical background, well, then you must prepare learn this language to describe the texture, shape, color, size, that type of language. You need to learn that type of language. Okay. Now, sorry, got a little sore throat here. Okay, formula phrases. Now, there are some formula phrases. Is the following formula useful for part 2? Now, this is a question, and based on what? Based on, like, I guess I could begin by saying something about point 1 and think I would have to choose. Okay, going on to my next point, which is point 2, like this. I really need to emphasize that, explain like that, or I mean explaining that point. Okay, and now with reference to, well, I don't suggest that, because already I have told you these are those long linkers in the beginning, okay, which will be wasting the time, and you will be left with very last time, which could otherwise be utilized in explaining the real content. Okay. Sorry. And so finally, if I have time in answer to the question of point 4, really I should mention that. Okay, what do you think? Okay, no, I suggest no. Why? Because these phrases are, first of all, annoying, obviously memorized. They look like unnatural, mechanical. Okay, not natural. Do not address the question. They do not address the question. Okay, your focus is on memorized phrases. It's quite obvious you have memorized. And then when it should be on answering the question, like your focus is on the crammed phrases. Okay. And sorry. Sixthly, the examiner thinks you are unable to produce good language spontaneously. This is not spontaneous way of explaining. That is a natural way. The thoughts naturally keep coming out of your mind, of your heart. Okay, and it also shows like your level of English is low. Okay, well, they may have some benefits. For example, now on this side, like it gives your answer some structure. Okay, it might make you feel more confident. However, now this however is a danger point here. Disadvantages are more than advantages. So what you should do instead, well, this is the bottom line to remember. Just answer the question directly. Okay, the best way and naturally. All right. Okay, then tip number 3, tips for IELTS Speaking Part 2 speech. Number 1, use the 1 minute preparation time well, based on whatever we have discussed so far. Okay, think about how to answer in your own language and note down as many ideas as possible. Okay, you can have a quick look at your ideas which you have jotted down on the paper, okay, during your speech. Okay, number 2, give real examples. They will help you. Okay, they will help you to expand your answer. And whenever you have nothing to say, give examples from your own experience. Okay, we have already discussed this. It's a kind of review of on the points we have already discussed. Okay, then it gives fluency to your speech. Okay, examples and everything when you follow up all these points. Okay, it gives logical order to your speech. Remember, these highlighted points are very precious ones here. Number 3, don't worry about grammar. Okay, at this point, if you are too much, your mind is occupied with grammatical probability of grammatical mistakes, so you will lose flow and fluency and the logical order. Okay, that will be the disadvantage. So focus focus on answering the question, ideas and vocabulary. This is where you have to focus. Okay, now an example to expand. Now, real examples in part 2 make your speech longer and support your opinions in part 3. Okay, see, these two parts are closely connected, so don't make mistakes in that's why part 2 is considered the core of your writing. So the same you can you will be working on the same what you have produced in part 2. Okay, questions will be asked from the same. All right. Okay, now now is the time to watch a real example of from IELTS Speaking Test Part 2. Okay, and then we will have time to reflect upon it, to discuss with each other. All right.
Now I'm going to give you a topic and I'd like you to talk about it for 1 to 2 minutes. You have 1 minute to think about what you're going to say and you can make some notes if you wish. Do you understand?
Yes.
There's your paper and pencil. And here's your topic. I'd like you to describe a gift or present that somebody gave you recently. Okay, now you have 1 to 2 minutes for this, so don't worry if I stop you. I'll let you know when the time is up. Could you start speaking now, please?
I'm going to talk about a present my husband gave me last year for my birthday. We had gone to Istanbul for a few days. My husband had always wanted to go there. Anyway, we had a few days holiday from work and we decided to fulfill my husband's dream. As I said earlier, I'm really interested in art, and so even though I had no real desire to go to Istanbul, I was totally captivated by all the beautiful buildings and the wonderful arts and crafts that were available there. The Blue Mosque was my favorite building. From the outside, it looks just like a typical Ottoman mosque, but inside it is quite startling. The large windows with the light reflecting on the exquisite blue tiles made it just breathtaking. I asked one of the guides about the tiles, and she told me that they were from Iznik and that they are still made today. When we left the Blue Mosque, we walked down a pedestrian lane full of shops, including some tile shops. In one of the shops, the owner told us that the tiles were made in Iznik. Anyway, one of the tiles really caught my eye. Actually, it sang to me. It was of fish, 4 big fish, and lots of little ones, all in different shades of green. I really wanted it. But when we asked the price, it was very high. Something like $300 American. Obviously, I knew we could negotiate, but it seemed such a high price that we just left. The next night, we went out for my birthday meal. Just as we were finishing the dessert, the waiter came over and handed me the most beautifully wrapped gift. I knew at once, because it was very heavy, that it was the fish tile. That's why
Thank you. And does this...
Okay, dear viewers, so you watched the video and I hope you learned a lot from it. This is now the analysis based on that video. So first of all, you you have to keep in mind the task focus. Okay, this part of the test focuses on the ability to speak at length on a given topic using appropriate language and organizing ideas coherently. Well, it's likely that the test takers will need to draw on their own experience to complete the long term. Well, that's that's a tip to the test takers. They should keep in mind. Well, this task focus has been taken from the official IELTS website. All right. Okay. Now coming to the merits and demerits. Well, the merits in green and the demerits in red. Okay. Follow this color scheme here, based on IELTS speaking testing assessment criteria. Okay. First of all, fluency. Well, throughout her speech, she was fluent. There was a flow in the speech, and there was no show of repetition or self-correction, except for short but natural pauses for ideas. Okay, of course they are acceptable unless they get too prolonged. Okay. Next was coherence and cohesion. Well, she expressed coherence, that is the flow, the unity of ideas among among various sentences. But however, she hardly utilized cohesive expressions like, in my opinion, well, I think, I'm afraid, I suppose, like these. Better connectors, they lend a nice touch to the speech. She missed those. While coming to vocabulary range, she used a very good range of vocabulary, what we also call the lexical range, the vocabulary range, like the expressions captivated, startling, okay, exquisite, breathtaking, fine. And then coming to pronunciation, she uses, there was good use of stress and intonation, creating a constant flow of rhythm in the speech, a musical touch that sounds very pleasant to the ears of the listener, and that's of course the examiner. Also, her pronunciation of the individual words was very nice. Okay. And then lastly, the grammatical range and accuracy, fine. She mostly used accurate structures. I didn't find any grammatical errors throughout the speech. However, she hardly uses a wide range of varied structures and sentence types. That variation, like some are simple, some are compound, some are complex, so they were missing to some extent. Okay. And then coming to the skills assessment, although she clearly expresses the ability to speak at length, well, that's her plus point, but the problem is she spends too much time on describing the background to the actual point that was to describe that gift. Well, and then eventually she was left with very short time to describe the actual topic, and that was to describe that gift. Okay, fine. She failed to render a descriptive touch to the topic. Okay, and the reason was the same as before, since she was left with very short time, so she couldn't afford to give it a descriptive touch. Okay, because she digressed from the actual point, and she allotted a lot of time to forming the background. All right. Well, that's our acknowledgement. We are thankful to the video source as I have given here. All right. Well, that was everything. The detailed analysis of part 2. I presented in front of you the video, also the model video. That was overall very nice example, if not a flawless example. And we had an analysis of it, also a critical analysis. And further to it, I have given you a very detailed analysis on part 2 and the kind of language that you need to utilize during part 2, and the kind of sentences, and particularly how to expand the sentences, because in part 2 you need to expand your speech, and it's not like before time you cut it short, so that creates a bad impression on the examiner. Okay, so for part 3 you can remain in touch with my channel, and you will find the link to part 3 in the description below, and to what I have presented regarding part 1 speaking. Model is the same model of my videos. So see you in my next videos, inshallah. So I will request you, as I always do, please subscribe my channel so that you can automatically receive my videos in your mail, and share with your friends, social circle, like it, and give it maximum watch time. Thank you very much for your cooperation. For online classes, those who are interested, I have given my WhatsApp contact in my description, so they can utilize it for that reason. Okay, thank you very much. See you in my next video.